It's NC State, it's Clemson, it's homecoming, it's the Textile Bowl, and it's Locked On Wolfpack giving you the keys.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Wolfpack. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's Friday episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. We have a solid Friday episode for you ahead of this big-time homecoming matchup, NC State and Clemson on Saturday, 2 p.m. at the Carter. A must-win game for both of these teams coming into Week 9. Kenton, we're going to start here with some Fan Friday before we get into our keys and final prediction. Our first one here comes from Johnald1. They say, I've seen a few media members who think the Clemson game is our best remaining chance to win. Thoughts on this take? Also, what do you think our final record is? I'd say 5-7. Clemson has our number, and I don't see a way we beat 2 out of 3 of UNC, Wake, and Virginia Tech. I just don't. Well, I wouldn't exactly say that Clemson's our best chance to win on paper. I think Clemson is your best chance to win and then make a bowl. I think if you have any aspirations of getting to a bowl, this one feels like an absolute must-have. It's not the end-all, be-all, but this one would be humongous for this team rolling into the final, third of the season here. But as far as best chance to win, personally, I feel like we have a better chance, air quotes, against either Wake or Virginia Tech. I think they're a lot less talented than Clemson is. Now, the other portion to consider here is both of those games are on the road. And again, we've mentioned this, 2 locations we have not had a whole lot of success of late. And so for final record here, we currently sit at 4-3. Me personally, I do see 2 more wins for NC State, but I couldn't tell you where they're going to come from. I think we do win 2 games. I think all 5 are losable. All 5 are winnable. None of these combinations will surprise me. We're just going to have to buckle up and see where we go.
Last time I checked, UNC hasn't beat us in how many days? What's it been? Over 1,000?
Over 1,000, I believe. Yep.
Over 1,000 days. The amount of days in the 4 digits, folks. I'm sorry to tell you. Wasn't last year? Oh, NC State's bringing in this 3rd stringer. What? No, 4th stringer. NC State's bringing in this little 4th stringer. Oh, their run game is abysmal. Oh, their defense is good, but you got to score to keep up with Drake May. You can't keep up with Drake May without scoring. And Grayson, how'd that game end? Yeah.
I believe another clunker for the guys in baby blue.
Oh, okay. All right. So, long story short, I vehemently disagree with the idea that this is our last chance at a win. What I will say is this is probably the last loss that I wouldn't be pissed at. This is the last loss that would not have me like, all right, this is terrible. This is abysmal. And depending on how this loss goes down, if there is a loss here, is what that'll be for me. But yeah, no, I definitely don't agree that this is our best chance at a win going forward. I see our final record. I see us winning 7 games before the bowl game.
So you think we got 3 more wins in us before this regular season wraps up?
Yeah, I think that either we upset Clemson tomorrow or we win out in these last 3.
Okay. Again, all these combinations here, I can make all of them make sense in my brain. I can make 0-5 make sense. I can even make 5-0 make sense, even though that sounds a bit crazy based on what we've seen lately. Again, all of these are winnable and all of these are losable. And I'm very anxiously, a good amount of anxious, ready to see what we look like after this bye week. I want to see fight and some heart when you had just gotten embarrassed 30 minutes up the road in Durham. That actually leads us into our next one here. This one comes from our guy, Dennis Holshoe. Says, NC State versus NC State is what I'm worried about. Dead ball penalties and holding calls, turning the ball over is our big opponent this weekend. I will be happy with clean, crisp plays. A win would be nice, but really, I just want to see good play. It would be really nice if we give Michael Allen a decent amount of touches. It would be really nice if our receivers catch the ball. It'd be nice if our defense didn't give up the big play. It'd be nice if we played with intensity and with the expectation that they can win. Yes, this is the point I was getting at. I want to see electric body language all game long in this Clemson matchup.
Yeah.
I want to see the sheer will to do whatever it takes to fight and claw and dig, anything it takes to get this win. Because again, if you see body language similar to what we saw in Durham, it will be over in the first quarter. I promise you that.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. Dennis must be a Life Jennings fan because this comment reads a lot like the hit song "Must Be Nice" because it would be nice to see a lot of these things. And the crazy part about it, all of these things are not things that are like crazy or like something that's like, oh man, when you think about that, you're asking us. I could understand if the request was, I need to see 400 yards through the air, 200 yards on the ground. We need to hang a 70 piece on them like the Dolphins did the Broncos. I'd say, all right, whoever your dealer is, stop giving them your money. All of these things are possible. All of them are feasible. I'm very interested in the no holding calls part because this is a retooled offensive line. So I'm very curious to see how they look in terms of, can they get better? Absolutely. Tons of room for improvement. There's also room for them to get worse. So let's see what this group looks like in a game where they'll be vital to our success.
This next question here is actually a very good question from Jay Gardner Pack. Real question. Do other ACC schools rotate skill positions as much as NC State? So this is interesting. I've seen this as a very common complaint and also something that you and I have both seen in watching these games, Kenton, is there is a lot of substitution on every single drive. Sometimes it has felt like every single play. And a lot of the concern there is getting guys in a rhythm, the consistency and the repetition and, even the chemistry with, you went through a quarterback change and you're still trying to build the chemistry there, continually cycling guys in and out virtually every single play. Yeah, this is a valid question. Are other ACC schools rotating as much as we are? What have you seen?
The vast majority, no. The vast majority, they have their guys and they roll with them. If you watch Florida State, you're going to see Coleman, Wilson, Bell. They're going to be out there. Now, granted, do they get other guys to play at times? Of course, but that's what you'll see, right? If you look at, let's say, Virginia, right? You're going to see Fields. You're going to see Washington. You're going to see Paris Jones or Hollins. Like that's all you're going to see there. We do use a very extensive amount of skill players that, that's been one of our biggest complaints so far. Shorten up the rotation.
Yeah.
If you want guys to be relevant when their number is called, put in the guys who are relevant when their number is called and leave them in. They condition for a reason. Trust them to go half a series or so and let that be that.
There needs to be a shortening of the rotation, period. And you certainly hope that had been talked about throughout this bye week because, certainly against Clemson, Clemson's defense is still there. The offensive struggles have been documented through their first 7 games. The defense is very much still there. So if you can't get anything going against the Clemson defense, I have a fear that it will look like a lot like the Louisville game for us, or maybe even the Duke game if it unravels very quick. The rotation with our skill players, it does need to be addressed. You certainly hope it was. Last comment here comes from DDogTX. I don't care if Clemson is considered down this year. We need to beat the name. Yes, 100%. Other than probably the UNC game, this should be circled multiple times in these last couple weeks here. A win here against Clemson can do big things for this team moving toward the end of the regular season here. If you're able to beat Clemson, you're able to find some sort of confidence, you can then roll in against Miami the week after that, 2 road games, and then you wrap up against your rival in UNC. confidence can go a long way in these last couple weeks here, and it can start with knocking off Clemson.
Absolutely. This is a huge momentum game. I don't care what Clemson is, what they are not, whatever. Get back in the win column. Get back in the win column. Have another good offensive performance. At the end of the day, we saw a 48-point game with MJ as the guy. We saw a 3-point game. Just get us somewhere in the middle and we'll be just fine.
Up next, we're going to get into Kenton's keys for this Clemson game after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first sponsor of the day is FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get up to $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. This, of course, is when you place just a $5 bet. Yes, that's right. $5 can get you up to $200 back in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Second sponsor of the day is Gametime. You shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, like Saturday's Textile Bowl, even an hour after it starts. And with the Gametime guarantee, you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less on any other site, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. If you're still in the market for NC State Clemson tickets coming up on Saturday, get over to Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Middle portion of our Friday episode here, we're going to dive into Kenton's keys to outline exactly what NC State has to do in order to pull out the homecoming victory on Saturday.
Thank you so very much for pulling up the keys, Grayson. Let me tell you something. We got one of the biggest jumbotrons in the country. That thing is massive, ain't it? It's so big you can see it all the way from across the state, darn near. You can see the score in Carter Finley. Light that thing up. Make it active. Make sure it's doing something besides displaying scores by other teams in the bottom right-hand corner. Folks, I have a sneaky suspicion that this game, much like the Duke game, will be a race to 21. Duke won that game by getting to 24. So I say we need at least 24 in this game. Like I said earlier, MJ's gotten 48. He's got 3. Just meet in the middle. Just meet in the middle. If you put those two together and break it down to half, you got 25 and a half. Just meet in the middle, and we'll be just fine. The way that you meet in the middle is stay ahead of the sticks. Here's the thing. I don't think that our offensive line is good in the running game, but I don't think that they're terrible in the passing game, except for in must-pass situations. When teams can get creative and freaky with their blitzes because they know that it's going to take some time for routes to develop and all that, that's when you get in trouble. When you let those Clemson rushers get a decent amount of time to get home, because like I said, it's a 3rd and long situation, so routes need some time to develop, that's where things get a little sticky. So stay ahead of sticks, less than 7 3rd and longs. Last thing, take care of the pill. Take care of the pill. Here's the deal, right? We talked about this with the Duke game in terms of Henry Beelan only completing 4 passes and 2 of them being touchdowns. One of them was a very long double move, absolutely. But another one of them was a 9-yard pop pass fresh off an interception. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I understand turnovers happen and all that, but if they're going to happen, at least let them happen while we're in plus territory so that we don't look at the same situation in terms of being behind the 8 ball there.
Something we have mentioned a lot recently in tight ends. And you talk about the offensive line needing to be much, much, much more effective than what we have seen these last couple weeks. You need to beef up this line with the use of tight ends blocking in both the run game and even the pass game potentially. You've got to find a way to buy more time for MJ Morris to be able to make a read and deliver the football. Because again, if not, this Clemson defense is still here with us. They are still a Clemson defense. If you get their defensive line and their linebacking core downhill with bad intentions, it could be a long day for the Wolfpack offense yet again. Now we're going to flip over to the defense and talk about these defensive keys.
Yeah, so I mean, we all know about the like I said, these two are the engine that drive this offense, right? And these two and how we contain them will be the difference between this offense looking like a Hellcat or looking like a 1954 Volkswagen Beetle or something like that. Like this will be the difference. Stopping Shipley and Maffa, that's the deal. That's the game. You know, if these two can dominate and do what they want with our defense, then we're going to have a long day. I've already warned you, Clemson goes unbalanced a lot, even though they're a team that runs primarily shotgun. I can guarantee you, sure as the sun set, rise on the east and sets on the west. That's going to be a thing. We need to hold these two to under 130 total yards and 1 touchdown or less. Now here's the thing, right? If we do this and we don't make Cade look like some random Heisman candidate that he just hasn't been all year, it's Clemson winning this game would be the most difficult win that they would have had in years. Second, make Cade Klubnik beat you consistently. So a lot like I said with Beelan, if you made him drive the field time and time and time again, we'd be just fine. But we didn't make him do that, right? Like the obvious huge play over the top, Jordan Waters 83 yards. We just didn't make that happen. Make Cade Klubnik beat you consistently. Keep everything in front of you. And if they can complete it, if they can go ahead and beat you in terms of, just play after play after play, doing the right thing, making the right read and all that good stuff, you live with that. But please, no explosive plays. No plays of 40 yards plus. And actually, I want to amend this to no plays of 30 yards plus. No plays of 30 yards plus, because if we can stop that, if we can hold them to, if we can hold them to no plays of 30 yards plus, I guarantee a win. That is literally a guarantee for me. All other keys be damned. If we can accomplish no plays of 30 plus, we'll be fine. Lastly, possessions is 9/10 of the law. Folks, you know how you get possessions from an offense? Take the ball away. We need 2 turnovers because, like I said, complementary football is what's important to play if you want to win a game like this. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be an ugly, nasty field position game. We need to take the ball away 2 times or more in order to win this thing. And trust me, Clemson will give you the opportunity to do so.
The second key here in making Cade Klubnik beat you consistently, I would highlight this. I'd circle it. I'd underline it. I'd bold it. I'd italicize it. That is the biggest thing this defense needs to do. And we've talked so much these last couple of frustrating weeks about the same issues continuing to beat you this deep into the season. Not allowing chunk plays. We've said it once. We've said it a million times. That is how we beat Clemson on Saturday, potentially. You have got to cut down the very things that have killed you time and time again. Massive chunk plays. I'd even say that the first key would go hand in hand with this, because if you're able to limit Shipley and you're able to limit Phil Maffa on the ground as well, that then puts the ball in Cade Klubnik's hands, and he has no choice but to go out there and win it for them. So that is exactly the scenario that NC State needs to find themselves in. Much like the Duke game where we talked about making Beelan throw all night long, because if we can limit their run game, their only option would then to be rely on a true freshman quarterback, and at that point you feel like it would be advantage NC State. If you make Cade Klubnik be all they got on offense for Clemson, I think that also is advantage for NC State.
Absolutely. 1,000% agree there.
We're going to round out this Friday episode with our final thoughts and predictions for the Clemson game after another quick word from our sponsors. Our third sponsor of the day is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is simply the most fun you can have this fantasy football season. PrizePicks is super simple to play, and you can make your picks and submit your entry in under 60 seconds. With quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types to choose from, PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. You may want to see if Taylor Swift is making the trip out to Denver, because if so, you're going to want to take Travis Kelce over 90 reception yards And you might want to take Patrick Mahomes over 2 passing touchdowns as well. Also, with PrizePicks reboot policy, your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For NFL games and college football top 25 matchups, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. So go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Crossing our T's and dotting our I's on this Friday episode, our final thoughts and predictions for the Textile Bowl, the 2023 edition, NC State, Clemson, 2 p.m., CW Network, Carter Finley Stadium. Kenton, give me your final thoughts and your final score prediction.
So I know a lot of people are going to say that this doesn't make sense and it doesn't jive with reality given the prediction that I gave for NC State's full season and what I thought they were going to do for the rest of the season earlier in this episode. But you're going to have to follow me for the rest of these weeks here because I think that this week will show us some things about these teams we have coming up. That's neither here nor there, but they'll be important later on down the line. It's our special Mouska tool that we'll use later. Now, for this game, the last time Clemson came into this game with a losing conference record, 2010-2011. Do you know what that game's final score was? They beat us 14-13 that year.
Ugh. PU.
I think that we see the exact same thing this year. I think Clemson wins a close one, 14-13.
Oh, low scoring.
Very low scoring. I think it's very nasty, very ugly, very low scoring. I think we make a critical mistake at the wrong moment, and boom, it's over with.
These Clemson matchups often feel that way. It only takes one or two, maybe a handful of plays that ultimately decides the outcome. You know, you mentioned earlier this game feels like another game that's a race to 21. I agree with you. I think this is another low-scoring game. Whatever the under is, I think it's like 44, 45. You might want to consider smashing that under. But preseason, looking at the schedule, I looked at this Clemson matchup. I felt like NC State was going to be at a disadvantage regardless. Of course, this was back in August. Clemson's 4-3, NC State's 4-3. How they've got there is completely apples to oranges and not because one wears red and one wears orange. But it's so difficult to try and talk yourself into a game like this with the implications that it could have for this NC State football team if they're able to pull out a win. But I mean, I just got to call a spade here. I haven't been instilled with much confidence that would tell me that NC State is going to be able to pull something like this off. And you even look at Clemson, the season that they've had, 4-3, Dabo gets barked at enough by the Clemson fan base in terms of the transfer portal and seemingly underperforming again. Could you imagine what that Clemson fan base will sound like if they roll into Raleigh and lose and have a record of 4-4? I'd be happily wrong on this, that maybe after the bye week we look like a different team, but I'm going to take Clemson by a score of 24-13. I think NC State will just miss covering. I believe the spread is Clemson by 10 points. They're going to just miss covering. It's going to sting a little bit, but also, like you mentioned earlier, Kenton, but if there's one game out of these final 5 that will sting a little bit less if we drop it, it's probably this one. So I have Clemson by a score of 24-13, low scoring, but is a slugfest.
I'm going to tell you this. Don't be surprised if NC State wins this game, though. Don't be surprised.
I mentioned this to somebody. It feels like a classic example of expecting the least, and then boom, NC State comes out and lays it on them.
Cade Klubnik has the type of football IQ that like literally gives me night terrors. Like I literally, when I think of a player, specifically a quarterback, with that type of lack of understanding of actual football, it's literally like, did you play Madden as a kid? If this game is close, it could very well be him making a crucial mistake. Because if honestly, I think we have the much better quarterback in this game. I don't think that there's like a question in my mind of like, oh, who's the better quarterback? I'd give that to MJ by a mile.
If it's a little bit of reverse psychology that can pull out a win for NC State, that's fine. We'll be happily wrong.
I'll take it.
We'll be happily wrong.
That'll be the best post-game live that we've ever done.
It absolutely will. It absolutely will. But We're looking at NC State versus NC State here. If this team was able to rally the troops in this bye week and begin to correct these same issues that have plagued us all season long, I want to see it this Saturday. Again, even if we don't win, I want to see concerted efforts to make those adjustments. I want to see concerted efforts to fight until the bitter end. This includes the sideline, the body language, the whole 9 yards. I want to see us take Clemson to the wire, even if we come up a little bit short, because that sort of effort can continue down the road here. If we come out flat and we know it early on, I think that could be an indication as well from what to expect the rest of the regular season. But that will do it for us here on this Friday. Another good week of Locked on Wolfpack. We appreciate all the support, all the messages, all the viewers, all the comments. Excited for it all. We will be in the house, Carter Finley, on Saturday. If you see us, say hello. We'll be happy to chat with you, chop it up. Maybe we'll run by your tailgate if you got some extra supplies, if you know what we're saying. We will be out and about. Again, if you see us, say hello. We're not shy. Be sure to comment.
You're trying to see what's up. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. We have fun here. We have fun on this show.
As always, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. We appreciate all the support again. We're getting awfully close to 800 subscribers. That's a mark we've been after for quite some time, and we want to blow past that one as well. We cannot do it without the support of Wolfpack Nation. You'll hear from us, of course, as always. We'll have a post-game live for you following the Clemson game. Look for a link on Twitter. If not, look for the red live light on our logo on YouTube, probably 20 to 35 minutes following the conclusion. We will see you all there. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.